I'd been sleeping in my taxi for 3 months when I picked up the passenger who changed my life. I was at rock bottom, homeless, broke, running on gas station coffee and whatever tips I could gather. Then a well-dressed stranger stepped into my cab, looked at me in the rearview mirror, and went pale. "My God," he whispered. "You look exactly like my brother, but he's been missing for 25 years. Before we begin, share in the comments, what's the most unexpected connection you've ever had with a stranger? And if stories about family, second chances, and belonging resonate with you, follow this page so you don't miss what comes next. 6 months earlier, my life looked fine on paper. I had a suburban home, a wife who smiled for photos, 2 kids who called me dad, and a job managing a small construction company that paid the bills. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. I was someone. Then everything fell apart in 2 weeks. First, the company collapsed. Our biggest client defaulted on payments, and we couldn't cover payroll. I had to lay off 12 loyal workers, close the doors, and hand the keys to the bank. 2 decades of work gone. My wife, Jessica, didn't take it well. "How could you not see this coming?" she demanded, pacing the kitchen. "How could you be so careless with our future?" I tried to explain about the client, the economy, how these things happen in construction, but Jessica had already made up her mind. Within a week, she'd filed for divorce and moved back to her mother's with our kids, Ella, 8, and Ricky, 6. "I can't do this anymore, Ezra," she said, packing their clothes. "The kids need stability. I'll find another job. I promise." "When? How?" she added. "You're 42 with no degree in a failed business. Who's going to hire you?" Her words felt like blows, but she wasn't wrong. My entire career had been built on one company, one skill set, one network that had just vanished. I was starting over at an age when most people were planning retirement. The house went into foreclosure. 2 months later, I moved into a small studio apartment that smelled like stale smoke and broken dreams. But even that became too expensive once unemployment ran out and my job search kept hitting dead ends. That's how I ended up driving a taxi. I bought an old Crown Victoria from a driver, getting out of the business. Faded yellow paint, 200,000 miles. A seat held together with duct tape. It wasn't much, but it was mine. The company took 60% of my fares, leaving barely enough for gas, food, and a motel room. When even that became unaffordable, I started sleeping in the car. For 3 months, I lived that way. Showering at truck stops, brushing my teeth in gas station bathrooms, trying to look presentable enough so passengers wouldn't complain. My clothes were wrinkled, my beard scruffy, and I could see the judgment in people's eyes. I was invisible, just another reminder of how fast life can fall apart. The morning I picked up Logan, I'd been awake since 4 a.m., parked outside the airport, waiting for early flights. I'd made maybe $30, enough for gas and coffee. My back ached from sleeping in the driver's seat. I was starting to wonder how much longer I could keep this up. Then came the call. Pick up at the Marriott downtown, headed to the airport. The Marriott was the kind of hotel I used to stay at when I traveled for business, back when I had business to travel for. Pulling up to the valet stand, my beat-up taxi looked shabby next to the town cars and luxury SUVs. My passenger was waiting by the curb, mid-40s, expensive suit, leather briefcase. The kind of posture you get when you've never worried about your next meal. "Airport?" I asked, as he got in. "Actually, change of plans. Take me to 1500 Market Street, please." I pulled away and glanced in the mirror. He was staring at me, expression unreadable. Shock, maybe, or recognition. "Everything okay?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Finally, he leaned forward. "This is going to sound strange, but what's your name?" "Ezra," I said. His face went pale. "Ezra. Just Ezra." "Yeah, just Ezra. If you're uncomfortable, I can call another cab," I offered. "No, it's not that. It's just you look exactly like someone I used to know. The resemblance is uncanny." I'd heard that before. People said I looked familiar, like someone they'd met. One of those faces. "What's your last name?" he asked. "I don't know." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Normally I avoided this conversation, but something about his intensity made me honest. You don't know your own last name? I was in an accident 25 years ago, I said at a red light. Head injury, lost most of my memories. The hospital called me John Doe, but I chose Ezra when I got out. Always liked the sound of it. You were... He stared like I'd just told him I was from Mars. 25 years ago? How old were you? 17, according to the doctors. Why? My younger brother disappeared 25 years ago. He was 17. And you? He shook his head. You look exactly like him. I gripped the wheel. That's quite a coincidence. Is it? He asked, quietly. What do you remember about the accident? Not much. Found on a highway 50 miles outside the city. No ID, no wallet, no one reported me missing. The police figured I was a runaway. 50 miles outside the city, he repeated. That's the same highway my brother was traveling when he disappeared. I pulled over, heart pounding. Miss Logan Westfield. Mr. Westfield, you might be mistaken. What are the odds? My brother's name was Ezra, he said softly. I turned around. What did you say? My brother, Ezra Westfield. He was 17 when he disappeared. He showed me a family photo. 2 boys, one 19, one 17. The younger one had my eyes, my nose, my mouth. It was like looking at myself from 25 years ago. That's impossible, I whispered. Is it? Logan's voice was gentle, hopeful. Why do you think you chose the name Ezra? Maybe something inside you knew. I stared at the photo, mind reeling. If I had a family, wouldn't someone have reported me missing? We did, Logan said, his voice thick. We never stopped. Police, private investigators, search teams, for years. Then why didn't they find me? My picture was in the papers. You were found in another county, he said quietly. Different police, different newspapers, and our parents died in a car accident 6 months after you disappeared. They never gave up. But the weight of his words pressed down. Your parents died? Our parents, he corrected. Driving back from a meeting with a private investigator, something cracked inside me. For years I'd wondered about my family, imagined parents who might be looking for me, siblings who missed me. I'd never considered they might be gone. I'm sorry, I said. Don't apologize. None of this was your fault. Logan leaned forward. Ezra, do you remember anything? Anything at all? Fragments. A woman singing. The smell of chocolate cake. A dog, maybe. But doctors said those might just be my brain filling gaps. Mom used to sing while she cooked. We had a golden retriever named Buster. You loved that dog. Warm fur, a wet nose. Barking flashes flickered through my mind. Maybe. Logan showed me another photo. 2 boys building a snowman. Christmas 1998. You were 16. I studied the smile that felt familiar in the way your reflection feels familiar. I want to believe you, but what if you're wrong? Then we'll find out for sure. DNA test. A few days and we'll know. I looked at this stranger who might be my brother and felt something I hadn't in months. Hope. Terrifying hope. Why a taxi? You look like you could afford a car service, I asked. He smiled. The first real smile I'd seen, and it looked like mine. My car's in the shop, the rideshare app wasn't working. So I called a cab. If I hadn't, he shook his head. 25 years of searching and I find you because my phone glitched. If you find me, I corrected. No, he agreed. But Ezra, I hope we do. The meter was still running. Your fare's going to be expensive if we keep sitting here. I don't care, Logan said. Can I ask you something? Are you okay? Job, living situation? I'm between places right now. The taxi's temporary. His expression softened. You're homeless. I didn't deny it. It's not permanent. I'm working on it. Jesus. Ezra. How long? 3 months. It's not charity if you're my brother. And even if you're not, no one should be sleeping in a car. I was too tired to argue. What do you want to do? I asked. First, the DNA test. Then, regardless of the results, we'll get you somewhere safe while we figure this out. I can't afford. I can, Logan said simply. Let me help you. I looked at him, this stranger offering hope and help, and made a decision that would change everything. Okay, let's find out who I really am. Logan paid for a hotel room that night. Nothing fancy, but clean and warm. I hadn't slept in a real bed in months. I woke up feeling human. The next morning, he picked me up, and we drove to a DNA testing clinic. A cheek swab, some paperwork, and enormous implications. Results in 3 to 5 business days. The technician said, "What do we do until then?" I asked. "We investigate. I've kept everything from the search, police reports, newspaper clippings, investigator files. Maybe something will trigger a memory." His apartment was in a converted warehouse. Exposed brick, high ceilings, success everywhere. "You've done well for yourself," I said. "Besides the inheritance, I got lucky. Started a software company out of college. Sold it 5 years ago. But Ezra, if you're my brother, half of everything I have is yours. Our parents left us equal shares. I don't want your money. It's not mine. It's ours. They built it for both their sons." He led me to a spare room, converted into an office. A filing cabinet in the corner. "This is my search for you. I stopped actively looking about 5 years ago." "You stopped?" "I had to. It was consuming me. 20 years of leads, dead ends, false hopes. My therapist said I needed to accept you were probably gone. I tried. I built a life, but when I saw you today, we were quiet." "What happened the day I disappeared?" "You'd had a fight with Dad. Something small. You stormed out, said you were walking to a friend's house. That was the last time anyone saw you. A neighbor later said you got into a car, but they didn't see the driver or plate. We always assumed someone picked you up." He showed me a map covered in red markers. "These are all the places we searched." "You checked everywhere," I said, imagining Logan as a teenager trying to hold everything together. "I did. Dropped out of college for a semester. Nearly flunked out, but I couldn't stop." A newspaper article caught my eye. "Local teen found after highway accident." The date matched my accident. "That's you?" Or, "We think it is. Look at the location." "Why didn't anyone connect it to your missing brother?" "Different county. Different police. You were listed as John Doe. We were looking for Ezra Westfield. Our parents died before we could connect the dots." I was 19, overwhelmed. I didn't see this article until years later, when a new investigator dug it up. By then, John Doe had vanished into the system. "So you've known about the possibility for 20 years? "I've known about John Doe, but there were dozens over the years. Most at dead ends." "What made you think this one was different?" He handed me a folder. The injuries matched being thrown from a moving vehicle. And there was something else. A medical report. One line highlighted: "Patient has distinctive birthmark on left shoulder blade, crescent-shaped." I reached back, touching the spot I'd always assumed was a birthmark. "You know about this." "I gave it to you," Logan said quietly. "When you were 3, I pushed you off your bike by accident. You scraped your shoulder. It healed in that crescent shape. Mom said it looked like a moon." The room spun. I pulled off my shirt. "Is this it?" He gasped. "Oh my God, Ezra, that's it. We don't need to wait for the DNA test. Do we?" "No," Logan said, his voice thick. "We don't. You're my brother." He hugged me, and I hugged him back. The DNA results came 3 days later, 99.97% full sibling match. I was Ezra Westfield, the boy who vanished 25 years ago. The brother Logan had never stopped searching for. "I need to know what happened," I said as we sat in his living room, results on the coffee table. "I've already hired a new investigator," Logan said. "She specializes in cold cases. Detective Riley, a retired officer, took our case with the focus of someone who'd seen too many families torn apart. It took her 2 weeks. I found your driver," she told us on a rainy Thursday. "His name was Carl Brennan. He died 3 years ago. But before he passed, he confessed to his son." Logan and I sat stunned as she laid out the story. Brennan had been driving drunk that night. He saw me walking along the road and offered me a ride. "You got in, probably just trying to get out of the rain." About 20 miles down the highway, he lost control of the car. The accident. His car went off the road and rolled twice. He was thrown clear, bruised and shaken. She paused. You weren't so lucky. Head trauma, unconscious, bleeding. He panicked. He left me there, Logan said flatly. He left you there, Detective Riley confirmed. He drove home and reported his car stolen the next morning. By the time the police found the wreck, you'd already been discovered by a passing motorist and taken to the hospital, she said. And then he never said anything. Not for 25 years, but guilt is a heavy thing. On his deathbed, he confessed to his son. The son carried that secret for 3 years. And when I tracked him down, he was relieved to finally tell someone. I felt a mix of emotions. Anger at the man who'd left me, relief at finally having the truth, and a strange sense of closure settling over decades of questions. What about the missing person reports? Logan asked. Why didn't anyone connect the dots? Detective Riley explained. Different counties, separate systems, and the investigation into your disappearance focused on other possibilities. People assumed you'd been taken or had run away. No one was looking for an accident victim found 50 miles away, so it was bad luck and a drunk driver who was too cowardly to do the right thing. I'm sorry it took so long to get answers, Detective Riley said. After leaving her office, Logan and I drove in silence for a while. He finally pulled over at a park where we used to play as kids. A place I didn't yet remember. How do you feel? He asked. Empty, I admitted. I had imagined that knowing the truth would bring completion, but it just felt sad. 25 years of wondering, and it boils down to a drunk driver who was too scared to call for help. I looked at the playground and tried to picture myself as a child there. Logan, what if I never remember? What if the memories never come back? I asked. Then we make new ones, he said simply. You're my brother whether you remember being my brother or not. That doesn't change. I've been homeless for 3 months. Sleeping in a taxi. I don't even have a real last name on my driver's license. So we fix it. All of it. We get you an apartment. We get your legal name changed back to Westfield. We figure out what you want to do. I don't want charity, I said. It's not charity, Logan replied firmly. It's family. It's what our parents would have wanted. It's what I want. I looked at the man who'd spent half his life searching for me, who never gave up even when everyone else moved on. I worried I might not be the brother he remembered. Too different, too damaged. Then you're still my brother, just a different version than I expected, he said. That night in the hotel Logan paid for, I lay awake thinking about identity and the strange turns life takes. I'd been 25 years a man without a past. Now I had to learn how to be a man with a future. A few days after the DNA test confirmed what we already suspected, Logan and I sat in his living room with takeout on the coffee table. Conversation was getting easier, but there were still gaps, 25 years to fill. Can I ask you something? Logan said, setting down his chopsticks. What was it like starting over at 17 with no memory, no family, nothing? Terrifying, I said after a moment. The hospital social worker tried to place me in foster care, but we weren't sure if I was 17 or 18. The system was overwhelmed. They gave me a social security number, helped me get a GED, and basically wished me luck. I was a kid with a head injury and no past. I worked construction at first, cash jobs, boarding houses. I was good with my hands and learning how things worked. I explained how I moved up. Laborer, foreman, eventually manager, and later starting a small construction business, doing home repairs and renovations. I met Jessica while renovating an apartment. She was a teacher. We married, had Ella and then Ricky. They were everything to me. Ella's laugh sounded like music. Ricky collected rocks like treasures. Do you see them? Logan asked. Every other weekend when I can afford it, I said. Jessica moved back to her mother's about an hour away. The kids didn't understand why Dad lived in a car. Ella asked if I was sick because I looked tired. You don't have to live like that anymore, Logan said. We can fix this. I know, it's hard to believe. For 25 years I was Ezra. Nobody, no past, no family, no safety net. When everything collapsed, There was nowhere to go. I've gotten used to being alone, I said. You're not alone anymore, Logan said. Your kids, they're my niece and nephew. They're family too. The idea hit me. I want to meet them, Logan said. I want to be the uncle who spoils them, who teaches them things. 2 weeks later, we met them at a family restaurant. Logan was nervous. You're more nervous than I was on my first date, I teased. I've never been an uncle before, he said, straightening his shirt. What if they don't like me? Jessica's car pulled in. Seeing my children brought a familiar mix of love and regret. Ella ran to me and I scooped her up. Ricky approached cautiously. He asked who Logan was. I introduced him. This is your Uncle Logan. Ella's eyes widened. We have an uncle. Logan crouched and spoke to them gently. Ricky showed Logan his rocks. Logan examined them seriously and promised to show Ricky his own collection sometime. Jessica later pulled me aside. He seems wonderful, she said. I wanted to talk about the kids, how we move forward. She explained the kids had been asking about me. I told her about our parents' deaths and Logan's insistence on sharing the inheritance. She listened, then said, now they can have their father back, and an uncle who already adores them. We'll never be what we were, I said softly, but we can be good parents together. Give them stability. That's all I ever wanted for them. Ricky ran over. Dad, Uncle Logan says he has a house with a pool. Can we go swimming? Jessica smiled and agreed. Logan laughed. I have 25 years of uncle duties to catch up on. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of my new apartment. Not fancy, but mine, with my name on the lease. Logan stopped by for our Saturday breakfasts. The memories did not rush back like in the movies. They came slowly in small flashes. A laugh, a smell, a memory triggered by a story. Each felt like coming home. I have news, Logan said one morning as I handed him coffee. Good news. The insurance settlement came through, he said. We sued Carl Brennan's estate for acknowledgement, and the civil case settled. The insurance will cover the original medical expenses and compensate for 25 years of lost life. How much? I asked. Enough to start over properly. Enough to do what you want. I told him I didn't want to return to construction. I wanted to go back to school. Maybe social work or counseling. I kept thinking of the people I met while homeless, those who'd fallen through the cracks. Maybe I could help them. You'd be good at that, Logan said. You know what it's like to lose everything and find it again. We sat in comfortable silence, drinking coffee and reading the paper like brothers do. Thanks for never giving up, I said. You're my brother, he replied. That's what brothers do. Later that afternoon, I drove my taxi, kept for sentimental reasons and for some independence, to the cemetery where our parents are buried. I'd been visiting, talking to their headstones, telling them about the life we were building. I told them about getting my GED and starting over at 42. The wind moved through the trees, and for a moment I almost heard my mother's voice from my dreams telling me she was proud. I'm going to be okay, I told them. We both are. Logan found me and I found him. Maybe that's everything. As I drove home, I thought about how 25 years of searching could end because of a glitchy rideshare app and a taxi driver who happened to look like someone's missing brother. I thought about Carl Brennan and the son who finally told the truth. Mostly I thought about Logan, who'd spent half his life looking for me. My phone buzzed. Dinner tomorrow. I'm making mom's spaghetti. Fair warning, I'm not as good as she was. I texted back, I'll bring dessert. Thanks for coming back, he replied. I pulled into my parking space and looked up at my apartment windows. For the first time in 25 years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. A brother, a family member, someone worth searching for. The taxi driver who'd been sleeping in his car was gone. In his place stood Ezra Westfield, a man with a past and a future and a brother who never stopped believing. Sometimes the best journeys bring you back to where you started, to the family you thought you'd lost, to the name you were always meant to carry. What's the longest you've ever searched for something or someone important? Share your story in the comments. If this story of persistence, family, and second chances moved you, Please like and subscribe for more stories about finding your way home. Click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.